Hello, welcome to the August Maythorn Monthly. We're home, we're on our home territory on the Wirral, right in the centre in Arrow Park. Behind me is the lake in the Arrow Country Park, and this park is actually huge. There are people flying model aircraft today. That's something they warn you about, and there's an area where they're allowed to fly. I've tried to film them, but it's not possible. Once the aircraft are in the air, they move too fast and they're far too small. So I decided that the best thing to do was to catch them as they landed. And that's a bit hairy as well. Apparently in the kind of winds we've been getting out in the open there, and I'm sheltered by the trees, it's difficult to land with a bit of a wind. So that's a bit of a challenge. Challenges for us this month? Well, we're off on our usual tour of Europe. I'm getting midges all over me or something. It's landing on my skin. We're off to Spain, then Bulgaria, then Poland, and possibly even Australia. So let's start here in Arrow Park and go on from there. Within the area of this park, there's a golf course, there's tennis courts, there's wide open areas you can explore, there's a brook that you can follow which ends up in this lake, there's a waterfall which seems to have dried up, so I can't show you that, but we may have a waterfall for you later because Colin's still in Bulgaria and he is visiting a waterfall. The park also has a pub. In fact, it's a Toby Carvery, which for me is even better because carveries are great. So I may end up there after I've finished talking to you. At the front and centre of the park there's a statue of Baden-Powell, and this was restored in the 1980s to its present day appearance. The buses come in and out at the front of the hospital as well. They turn off the main road, sweep in, pick up and go out again. You'll see Stagecoach and Arriva buses here, but just in the last week or so we haven't seen many Arriva buses as they've been on strike. The fields that form part of Arrow Park are often used for games of football, mainly by younger people in my experience. And then occasionally there are fundraising days and special fairs and events on the same field. WUTH, you'll see in the sign, is a charity which raises money for both Arrow Park and Clatterbridge hospitals. So, leaving the fish swimming around the lake in Arrow Park, let's start off on our journeys around Europe. So here in Spain, we're in Vilanova y la Geltrú. We've only had a short stop here overnight. We've got a balcony facing out to the back where there's a bit of a play area, and there's a lot of noise because of building work going on next door. So the front view is best. We didn't get a room there, but there's a harbour at the front of the building. So let's pop outside and have a look at that. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you'll have noticed that all down the coast of Spain, in all the different places I've taken you to, there's an interest in sailing. There's quite a lot of money put into boats. And we get to a point where one marina looks just like another down the Mediterranean coast. In the town of Vilanova, there's the usual array of shops, including the fantastic fruit and veg stores, which I can't get over. Then we move to Vilanova's transport interchange, and here you can see that lots of people scooter or bike it into the station. They catch their trains and buses from here, and lots of the trains that go from Barcelona down to this part of the coast are double-decker. They're also well graffitied, as you may notice. There are some new trains running here which haven't had the graffiti yet, and they are generally more conventional single-decker trains. You've joined me now by the River Danube, a place called Belene. I've never been here before. If you're interested in coming here yourself, there's a hotel behind you there that will cost £30 a night to stay in, and that's expensive for Bulgaria. We're going to have a quick look around this area before we move on. I've also got the other Brian in Gdynia in Poland waiting to talk to you, so let's move on. Well, I'd asked the question, where was the nearest beach to our village of Oreș? And they said, oh, it was just across the way on the coast at Belene. This is a beach, apparently. It's mainly grass and gravel, but you can paddle here and you can actually go out in a boat. So it's a bit beach-like, and it's on the River Danube. So I'm back in Gdynia. I was here for the March video when I was down there in the harbour. You can just about see, perhaps if you've got a big screen, the masts of some of the boats that I was showing you back then. I've come up to the heights using a funicular or cable car, or a thing that goes up and down the side of a hill that has so many different names around the world. I've got pictures of it, of course, so you can look at it and make up your own mind. And from here you do get some great views. There's a great big cross on the top of this hill, which I'll have to take pictures of from down below, I think, because it's far too big. You'd never get it all in from here. There's also housing further along here. There's a closed down restaurant which is called the Panorama or something like that, and this sits on the edge of this hill with views out to sea, so it's a brilliant spot and very quiet, although I did see a bus just before. So yeah, the people who live here, and they live further along that way, they obviously have some very nice houses up here, and they've got a bus service taking them down into the town. feeling of deja vu. I have been here before, up in the Clwydian Mountains, standing in front of this wind turbine and saying, "It's too windy up here, I can't fly my drone." Well, you can actually fly your drone, and I've got it flying at this very moment, but the controller's complaining that it's too windy. The drone is having to work too hard, it's going to overheat. So this is a short shot of the landscape around this area. The reason I'm out this way so much is because my wife, who you met last month, is a holistic therapist, and not very far from here there's some holiday cottages where they have sort of pamper weekends, and we took a whole load of bookings while we were still living in North Wales ourselves at this venue, which is very hard to find up narrow winding country lanes where you always run into tractors. But we're not taking any more bookings here. This is the last one. It ends here in summer 22 because we've moved to the Wirral, and this is just too far to come now. So our last look at the Clwydian Hills today, unless we come for a holiday. As you may imagine, my wife is actually at these holiday cottages for 4 or 5 hours, so I have had to find something to do. I did once go to the Woodlands Hall Caravan Park and have a look around there. I've found other things to do, but my most recent one is to travel down about 4 miles into Ruthin Town Centre, where they've got a fantastic craft and arts centre, which has got a cafe. Time for a coffee break. Coffee and cake for me. Quite a large courtyard here in Ruthin for the Art and Crafts Centre. The first time I went, I had a look in some of the individual artist units. Of course, I visited the cafe, that goes without saying. And on my most recent visit, I went into the art gallery itself. There are lots of items for sale here, but you will need a fat checkbook if you're going to buy anything. There's some quite pricey items. Well, here I am back in Oresh, Bulgaria, after 2.5 years. Everywhere's got overgrown. This house is no exception. This is a project that I was covering up until 2020, which Davey and his crew were modernising, and I've come back now to have a look to see how far they got, and it looks like they got most of it done before the actual lockdowns began. But there's a change of ownership here, and things happen when you can't get to a place for a couple of years. But the latest position is this house is going to be bought and finished off by a couple from the Wirral, where I live in Britain, and they want to come out here and live full time. That's still undecided, I have to say, but that's the plan. And this house has already been done up, and let's have a look inside. Going in through the front door into the hall, the doorway ahead of you wasn't a doorway at all when we started, but they built a new bathroom on the back, which you'll have seen in some of the pictures. Some good ideas here. They've enclosed the hot water cylinder in a cupboard. There's further cupboards down the other end of the bathroom. Quite a lot of storage in here has been put into the walls, which is an excellent solution. There's plumbing for the bath, and it's down to the new owner of this house if they want to have a bath. Back into the hall and off to the right as you enter the building, there's a couple of rooms which I gather will be used for bedrooms. Back into the hall and going to the left, you come into a room which I suppose is going to be some sort of dining room or living room. And if you step down a couple of steps into the kitchen, then you'll see the finished units and the space for the white goods. You may also notice on the wall that the original owners wanted to have a mixture of European and UK main sockets. I'm saying nothing. As you can see, there's still a little work to do, and as I mentioned once before, this house is actually situated right by the swimming pool. Colin and his wife walked past here, and if you look up there you can see people having a drink and some snacks and the kids in the pool. But Colin wasn't hanging around here today when he took these pictures because the family were off for a walk. Lots of open countryside to walk around here, but we're going to go back to the village school because Colin was there a couple of weeks ago when they were breaking up for the summer holidays, and it's always been a bit of a shame to hear that the number of kids attending this school is going down and down, and eventually the school may have to close because there's not enough kids attending it. You get an idea of just how few there are on this day when they had a bit of a celebration for the start of the summer holidays. This school is just adjacent to the little cafe where we normally have our morning coffee. It's a more or less regular thing every day. So let's take a quick coffee break now, and this time we're upstairs on the restaurant veranda. So from Bulgaria to Spain, and we shot this on the beach at Marina d'Or. It shows a parent trying to teach their daughter to fly, something that humans have always wanted to do. The only type of flying I do is piloting my little mini drone around, as you'll have seen from time to time. The word is that these things are being used for deliveries in future, and one day our shopping will arrive on the lawn here. Let's give that a trial now. There's a device called Fleafly, and it allows you to remotely control a drop device on your drone. It won't work with anything this size, but these tests were done with a Mavic, a full-size Mavic drone, and my favourite type of shopping, bananas. I think development of that particular thing has got a long way to go yet, although Amazon are already doing it in America, apparently. They're delivering stuff by drone, and we've got plans in Britain to do the same thing. Of course, Amazon have got their own custom designed systems, and it works fantastic. Well, my Mavic Mini decided that it wanted to take part in Project Skyway in the UK, a system for delivering medicines and blood and such like, as well as Royal Mail deliveries from hub to hub. Well, we live opposite a hospital, so it went. It left me. So my little Mavic Mini's just gone off to the hospital across the road to help deliver blood. And if you believe that, you'll believe anything. My friend Alan discovered another Maythorn company. We're the Maythorn Monthly, and I have a Maythorn company as well. But there was one historically called Maythorn Motor Bodies, or Maythorn and Sons, that made body conversions on things like Bentleys and Daimlers. So that was an interesting discovery. Thank you, Alan. And with more up-to-date vehicles in mind, we were shopping at Lidl's in Wallasey, just up the road here on the Wirral, and I spotted an EV charger with the name Podpoint on it. Now, this is a UK company I decided to invest in. Shares are about £1 at the moment, so I bought 10 of those. I do splash out on shares from time to time. Who knows, Podpoint may take off in the UK. Back in Marina d'Or in Spain, we spotted a Kia outside our apartment block, and it had a Ukraine registration. Now, we've seen Romanian and German and French and even the odd Russian registration. This is the first time we'd seen Ukrainians. I've heard reports that there's been a ghost of a police car from the Z-Car series days in the 60s, and I thought, well, that's not very likely, but a ghost car. And I was travelling up on a bus to Birkenhead along the A41, and I spotted it out the window as well. So yeah, it does exist. Back to my friend Alan. You may remember that I used to give you bits of my radio archives, courtesy of my Studer professional reel-to-reel tape recorder, the Radio Rewind spot, which I find hard to say. Well, this spot could come back at some point because Alan has found a source for the control board in this 50-year-old machine. I had this one shipped from Madrid, and repairs are now underway with Alan. Little more about hydrogen this month. In this part of the world where I live, the Northwest Hydrogen Alliance are pretty active. The government are spending their money on electric vehicle infrastructure, but private money is all going into hydrogen, and to me I think that's the right move. These pictures show a hydrogen furnace being shipped into the Stanlow oil refinery area of Ellesmere Port. But this month I'd like to look at hydrogen buses, and although this graphic shows a single-decker hydrogen bus and shows where they put all the fuel cells and the gas bottles and things like that, most of the buses that have actually turned up on the streets are double-decker. Aberdeen claimed to have the first hydrogen bus in the world. This was a 70 reg, but I believe it hit the streets in January 2021, and by March that year London Transport had some as well. So hydrogen buses were kicking off in key places in the start of 2021, and since then they've been expanding. The latest place to announce a hydrogen fleet is Liverpool. The Service 10A from Liverpool to St Helens is having a rollout of hydrogen buses bought by Liverpool City, and the same way they funded the trains, and the buses will be built by Alexander Dennis. The CGI of the interior of the buses shows they have the Liverpool skyline as part of the decor. They have wireless charging, and the information screens not only tell you where you are, but what connections there are onward from where you are now. Hydrogen buses are rolling out to other parts of the country very slowly. They're being shown at the various bus and coach shows to the trade, so they're going to buy some one day, and the cost has come down tremendously in the last few years, and it's not that much more than buying a diesel bus. Back in Liverpool, they're still running their 1970s trains, the 3-car ones, but signs are the 3-year late new 4-car trains may be in service soon, because the platform signs have been changed to tell the driver where to stop his 4-car train. Roll on the 4-car trains. We'll be taking them to Southport soon, I hope. So we did take one of the older trains to Southport, and this is Lord Street, supposedly one of the widest streets in Europe, but it's not so easy to tell now, because since I was last there, there's been all these pavement cafes turn up, and they just fill up the space nicely. We've taken a brief look at the trains, so let's now look at boats. Not quite the normal kind that you may have been thinking of, and not generally the kind we show you in the marinas along the Mediterranean coast. This is Southport's Marine Lake, where there's a lot of sailing going on. And I know we promised you some planes as well, so keep your eyes on the sky, you may see them turn up soon. If you spotted any of the planes flying over the lake, they're not actually flying over the lake, they're flying over the sea. It's an air show that was on a couple of weeks ago, and the planes are no longer allowed to fly over land apparently, so you have to see them out to sea. Now we've moved to some of the vantage points now, which are not only overlooking Marine Lake, but give a good view of the aircraft going past. And this is the smallest pub in Britain apparently. The thing about this is, it may be the smallest pub, but it's got some of the biggest outdoor space I've ever seen, and it's got loads of people there on this particular day because they were sitting out having a drink and watching the aircraft flying past out to sea. On this particular day, people staying in hotels that were nearby, they were out having a look at the view. There were people on the bridges, there's a pub right down the front, which we were heading for by the way, and we get a closer view of the planes shortly. Those of you who are into aircraft will probably spot that these are the red arrows. They seem to attend all the major air shows in the country. And we're going to leave you watching them while we head off down to Portsmouth to a much quieter, more tranquil place. So we're back in the memorial garden we visited earlier this year when it was quite cold, and now it's extremely warm and humid, but the sun's gone in. So this is a piece of Portsmouth just outside the town. It's very peaceful, it's by the water, and it's just a place that's nice to be. But we're going to another place that's nice to be, and the water's a little bit different. Our family, as you've heard me say before, are over in Western Australia, and about an hour's drive out of Perth they live in Wannanup, which looks like this. These are the waters around the house they live. This area is one we're hoping to visit sometime later this year. But for now, let's join Colette down by the Cut. The Cut is what they call the Dawesville Channel, and there's always a lot going on down here, and the dolphins love to come and play. Well, it's winter in Australia at the moment, and despite the fact that it looks quite bright and sunny, the temperatures have been quite low, even going below 20, which is unusual for Australia. It's been such a hot month in Britain these last few weeks that I thought maybe we should stay by the water though. So moving on and back to Europe, this is Gdansk, or nearby Gdansk. It's actually out in the suburbs. and I was walking along another river. I got quite totally confused by the end of it all. There's so many rivers and tributaries and waterways around the area. And I saw these two magnificent bridges. One of them carries road traffic and the other one has a railway across it. And I looked on the map to see where the railway went, and it just goes into a kind of marshalling yard in a docking area. So you'll only ever see freight trains on this line, I would guess. I also saw a very interesting house overlooking the river, which I'm guessing from the materials was actually homemade, DIY type of construction. Nice view of the river though. No more planes for you, but we do have an airport. This is Gdańsk's Hotnitsa airport. You get there from the city centre by train. There's a station right by the terminal building, as you can see here, and the trains are very modern and up to date. Why can't we have things like this on Merseyrail? More to the point, why didn't we ever get our tram system running into Liverpool Airport as we were promised some years ago? Right, I promised you a waterfall, and this is Hotnitsa waterfall near Vilanova in Bulgaria. We were there in 2019 when there was photography taking place of a wedding, an ideal sort of situation for wedding photography. Colin's just been there again in the last couple of weeks, and this time no wedding photography, but there was a photographer and some models. The cafe is new, by the way, and it's meant some loss of car parking, but everything else pretty much the same. A beautiful place to visit. Don't forget the name, Hotnitsa. Ooh, fish. We have them in our lake in Arrow Park. We don't have people standing in the water taking photographs though, so it's a bit different here. Well, it seems I've overrun my half-hour time slot again. We're pushing 35 minutes already, so I'll have to ask the boss for more time, I think. Perhaps 40 minutes next time. Oh, I am the boss. Oh, okay, I give myself permission then. We're going to play out with these aerial views of Gdańsk. We didn't get the drone to fly in Gdańsk because of the wind, so have a think about how we might have got these. In the meantime, I'll see you in September. Is that cue for a song?